Hey, what is going on, everybody? I hope you are enjoying your weekend so far, enjoying this Saturday as we await tomorrow's week 4 action. So, as you guys know, it's my Saturday video on my YouTube channel. So, I'm going to give out my week 4 preview slash prediction video. So, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into it and share some takeaways from that Thursday night game where we saw the Jaguars and Bengals come down to the fourth quarter, where Joe Burrow helped lead that field goal drive to help give the Bengals the victory, 24-21 over the Jaguars. A couple fallout things from that game to make note. DJ Chark from the Jaguars, he did suffer a fractured ankle, so he is out indefinitely going forward. AJ Cann has suffered a knee injury. There was no note on how long he may be out, but once he did end up getting ruled out of that matchup. So it looks like for going forward, the Jaguars will be missing at least one of their starting wide receivers, and then maybe possibly one of their starting offensive linemen. And then as far as the Jaguars, yeah, they're going to be struggling throughout the year. Thought they would be a little bit better this season with the addition of Trevor Lawrence, but it's been slow out of the gates. But they did put on their best performance this past Thursday night against the Bengals. I thought Trevor Lawrence started showing some good things, making some big time throws, making some nice runs with his legs. So I think there are some positive things that the Jaguars can take out of this going forward. Their defense played a little tough, especially against the run. And yeah, so they're still a work in progress underneath Urban Meyer. I will say this though, when the start of the game, when Troy Aikman he kind of happily joked about it, but he was like, "Man, are the rookie quarterbacks more confident right now than Urban Meyer?" So you never want to hear that. But we'll have to see how this Urban Meyer experience goes forward and see if he can finally turn things around and find a way to get Jacksonville their first victory of the season. And then as far as the Bengals, late in the game on that final drive, Joe Mixon ended up suffering a minor ankle injury. As far as I am aware, nothing really came out as far as if he's going to have to miss time going forward. They said it was minor, so I would assume he should be able to be back next week with them having that extra time in between the games since they played on Thursday night. And then, yeah, the Bengals, I mean, I was like, kind of like, oh, well, I thought this was going to be a new Bengals team, right? They were looking like the Bengals of the old in the first half, and then they came out. The offense scored on every single drive. I just love watching Joe Burrow play football. He's so calm in the pocket. He keeps his eyes up the field, and he knows how to manipulate the pocket so he can find an open passing lane to deliver the ball to his guy. Which might as well go ahead and dive into it and put a bow on it. The prospect encyclopedia player of Thursday Night Football is Joe Burrow. You guys might be wondering, like, how is Joe Burrow in the prospect encyclopedia for a second year in a row? Again, if anybody has not bought the book or look into it, in order to qualify to make the top 22 list for the Bengals, you have to have less than 12 regular season starts. And Joe got hurt before he got to his 12th regular season start, so that's why he made the book again, and that's why he was the Thursday Night Prospect Encyclopedia Player of the Night. He ended up finishing 25 of 32, 348 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns to help lead the Bengals to a 3-1 record. As of right now, they are sitting on top of the AFC North. I'm looking smart so far on my Bengals prediction. We'll have to see how they go going forward. Again, this is a 17-game schedule. They're only 4 games in. They have to keep on winning games and continue to improve as a team. But yeah, man, Joe Cool, I don't know what you want to call him, but I just love watching the guy play football, and I had my thoughts going right before bed. I'm starting like the way he's thought, because he switched that audible to CJ Uzomah on that tight end jailbreak screen, which put him in the field goal position to win the game. He's very smart, man, and he just reminds me of an athletic Peyton Manning. I wouldn't say he's exactly that quite yet. We have to see him continue to improve, but he might be that guy of this generation of quarterbacks, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the Bengals take this momentum into the second quarter of the season. So yeah, that's my recap of the Thursday night game. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get diving into the rest of the Week 4 games. As always, guys, I'm gonna start with the 1 p.m. games, Eastern, of course, because I live in I live in Florida, so I always based off the Eastern time zone, and then 1 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern games, and then the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, and get you guys out of here. Starting with Tennessee is heading out to New York to face the Jets. Let's go over these injury reports really quick. On Tennessee's side, they're going to be missing some players, some starters. Their 2-star wide receivers are out this week. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones both have hamstring injuries. They've been ruled out. Bud Dupree's been ruled out with a knee injury. Caleb Farley is out with a shoulder. Laurel Murchison is out with an elbow. And Brett Kern, their punter, is out with a groin. And then going over to the Jets side of the ball, they're also dealing with injuries. Marcus May is out with an ankle injury. Elijah Moore is out with a concussion. Jeff Smith is out with a concussion as well. And then these three players are questionable. Jamison Crowder with a groin, Tyler Croft with a rib, and then LaMichael Pirine with an illness. So I mean, if this was any other game, I probably would be very worried as a Titans fan, but they kind of lucked out having to miss A.J. Brown and Julio Jones when you face the New York Jets, who have been far less than impressive this season, arguably probably the worst team that has put a product on the field so far. I mean, I don't think they're going to have to, they're going to struggle too much. Starting with the offense, I expect this is going to be a Derrick Henry show. He's probably going to get 30-plus touches. They're going to try to run the ball down the throat of the New York Jets. But, if the Jets can maybe get a nice little game plan together, Robert Saleh can use that great defensive mind of his and maybe somewhat bottle up Derrick Henry. As so far it's been proven, like, you can't bottle up Derrick Henry. They'll just keep on boom, boom, boom until he breaks one. But if he can, the Titans, they have Esker. I don't even remember the guy's name because it's two different last names with the hyphen in between. I should remember that. That's my apologies. He got a touchdown against my Colts last week, and they got Chester Rogers. Yeah, so they don't really have much to go and threaten this Jets secondary, even though the Jets secondary is not that great. So the best way the Jets can win this game is they completely take out Derrick Henry out of this game, and they force these, I wouldn't want to call them no-name wide receivers because they're in the NFL and I'm not. So, they force these guys that, don't have the talent of Julio Jones and A.J. Brown to beat them, and maybe the Jets can maybe keep this one close. But I think Derrick will end up getting over 100 yards and probably 2 touchdowns, right? And then switching sides of the ball, the Jets offense cannot get anything going. They're going against a Tennessee defense that can, be picked apart at times. But they will have to give their quarterback Zach Wilson some time. They're going to need some wide receiver like Corey Davis going against his former team. So maybe there's a revenge game factor. Maybe Corey Davis can go off against the Titans and make this an interesting game. But I think there's going to be a lot of struggles on that offense just because that's how the season has gone for New York so far. Maybe with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones being out, I could see this maybe being closer than expected, but I expect a better team to come up on top in the fourth quarter. I'm going to say the Titans win at a surprisingly kind of close game. I'm going to say they win a 27-21 type of win for Tennessee. And then let's go ahead and move into this next game. We got Detroit traveling down to Chicago to face the Lions. Let's take a quick look at the injury report. The Lions are with the Lions. Trey Flowers out with a shoulder and knee. These 3 players are questionable. Michael Brockers with a shoulder, Romeo Akawara with the shoulder, and DeAndre Swift with the groin. And then taking a look at the Bears injury report, I wish he would get healthy so I wouldn't have to butcher this kid's last name every week. But Joel Bignawi. I just butchered it. I'm sorry, man. He's out with a hamstring. And then Tashawn Gibson Jr. is doubtful with a hamstring. And then these 4 players are questionable. Khalil Mack with a foot, Andy Dalton with a knee, and then Darnell Mooney with a groin, and then Xavier Crawford with a back injury. So where do I want to start? The Bears, the offense, I don't know what to expect for you guys because Andy Dalton's questionable, and then there was a report at the beginning of the week that Matt Nagy is debating about Nick Foles and Justin Fields or Andy Dalton as a starter. They said that we won't find out who the starter is until tomorrow morning. I would not be surprised because usually they make a decision by Saturday night. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport gets the inside scoop and we find out tonight who's going to be the starter. So I don't know what to expect out of this Bears offense, right? Because they completely struggled last week with Justin Fields. It was a combination of play calling and Justin Fields made some bad decisions in that game. But I don't know. You got to put Justin out there. He's got to learn to be on the field. So I don't know how to predict this offense because if Justin's out there and they can maybe start opening up things with some RPO, using his legs, I could see the Bears having a good day against this Lions defense that has one of the worst secondaries in the league right now. I could see Allen Robinson having a huge game. I could see Cole Kmet having a good game. Maybe Darnell Mooney if he plays. I know he's questionable with that groin injury. But then it's like if it's Andy Dalton, like sure, I guess I could see Andy Dalton have a good day, but I also could see him struggling and the Lions defensive front getting after him and harassing him, and maybe the Bears struggle on offense and the Lions have a shot to win. And you switch sides of the ball, like the Bears defensive front's pretty good, so all they need to really do is bottle up that rushing attack of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, right? And force Jared Goff to beat them through the air, force guys like TJ Hawkinson, Quinton Cephas, to be the threats that they have to stop. And I would lean the Bears being able to somewhat do that against the Lions offense. So I think, regardless of who the Bears quarterback is, I think the Chicago is going to find a way to win. I think it's going to be like a really low scoring, boring game, to be quite honest. I don't think there's much excitement or fireworks we're going to see between the two teams. I'm going to take the Bears to win like a 17-14 win over Detroit. I'm going to go ahead and keep it moving. Indianapolis Colts are traveling down to Miami to face the Dolphins. The Colts have the second longest injury report with 9 players on it. They are going to be missing some starters. Quentin Nelson is out with an ankle and knee injury. Kwity Paye is out with a hamstring. Braden Smith is out with a foot and thumb injury. Kari Willis is out with an ankle and groin. Rock Ya-Sin is out with an ankle. And then these following 4 players are questionable. Jack Doyle with a back. Mark Lewinsky with a knee. Jonathan Taylor with a knee. And then Carson Wentz with his ankles. And then the Dolphins, I think they placed him on IR, but Michael Dieter is out with a foot and quad injury. So this is another, I think it's going to be a very close battle despite all the Colts injuries, just because they are facing a Dolphins team that has their own struggles on offense as well. I guess I would start with that. The Colts are facing against their former starting quarterback from the 2019 season, Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby, he helped, keep the Dolphins in that game last week against the Raiders, took them to overtime, but I can't believe they let him throw 49 times. He's, as much as I love Jacoby when he was a Colt, he's not a quarterback you should be letting throw the ball 49 times. That just shows you the lack of the rushing attack that Miami has right now, because they have one of the poor offensive lines in the league. And he was only averaging 4.4 yards per attempt. So I think if there was anything for this defense to get back on track for the Colts, it would be to face this Miami offense, because between Myles Gaskin and Malcolm Brown, their rushing attack has kind of been non-existent so far. So I think a guy like DeForest Buckner is going to eat up that terrible inside offensive line of Miami. It's going to allow guys on the outside. Maybe we can see a breakout game from like Kamiko Ture or Ben Banogu off the edge and getting into Jacoby Brissett's feet and bring him down for sacks. And I just don't see this Dolphins offense being consistent throughout the day because of that offensive line. I do think they are going to put together some touchdown drives against this Colts defense, because the Colts defense has their own struggles in the secondary. Kari Willis is out, Rock Ya-Sin is out. That's 2 starters there. So maybe a guy like, they still got Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, and Jalen Waddle. So there are ways they can scheme those guys open and have some explosive plays throughout the afternoon. But I think there's going to be some lack of consistency from that unit, which will allow the Colts to stay in this game. And you flip sides of the ball, the Colts offense just they've been moving the ball this season, but they have to convert those drives into touchdowns. They get down to the red zone and they just completely stall and look like they're idiots. I don't want to say idiots, but look like they don't know what they're doing. when they get down to the red zone. But I think that's going to change this week. I think we're going to see the best performance out of the Colts offense because they're going against a defense that has allowed, if I remember my Colts Wire article, I want to say the 6th most rushing yards per game. I think we're going to see a breakout game from Jonathan Taylor tomorrow. Last week we saw Peyton Barber go over 100 yards against this defense. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to go over 100 yards, get a couple touchdowns. I think we're going to see the emergence of some role players too from the Colts, like a Paris Campbell, maybe like a Mo Alley Cox gets more involved. And I think that we're going to see a good performance out of the Colts offense. But I think because with Braden Smith and with Quentin Nelson being out of the offensive line, they're also going to have their struggles. I think they're going to be not as consistent, but I think they're going to put together those 2 or 3 touchdown drives. I believe this is going to come down to the fourth quarter. Who has the ball last, who can score, and with the less time on the field. Man, I just don't see like the Colts defense. I don't see the Colts like knowing Jacoby Brissett, letting him beat them, right? So I think the Colts are going to squeeze out a victory, 24-20 down in Miami. And then let's go ahead and keep it going. This is a matchup I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. We got the Cleveland Browns traveling out over to Minnesota to face the Vikings. Taking a look at the Browns injury report, these 2 players are out. Chris Hubbard with a triceps and Greg Newsome with a calf. And then these 3 players are questionable. Sion Takitaki, I love saying that name, with his hamstring. J.C. Treader with a knee, and then Jedrick Wills with an ankle. And then on the Vikings side, Amir Smith-Marset is out with a toe. Dalvin Cook is questionable with his ankle, but I believe barring a setback, I think he's going to be playing. Anthony Barr with a knee, Chris Boyd with a hamstring, and then Michael Pierce with his elbow and shoulder. So yeah, the Vikings are coming off that impressive win over the Seahawks at home last week. They were able to run the ball with Alexander Madison. So even if Dalvin Cook is less than 100%, or if he can't go, you like the ability that they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground. Kirk Cousins is playing lights out right now, but they are going against a pretty solid defense with Myles Garrett coming off his 4.5 sack performance. Jadeveon Clowney is starting to get comfortable in that defense, but they are going to be missing their top rookie quarterback in Greg Newsome. So maybe that can help open up things for Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. I think the Vikings should be able to move the ball throughout the day, but I think there's going to be times where that defensive front of Cleveland is going to get in Kirk's face and harass him and force him into either early decisions or maybe poor decisions that could lead to a turnover or 2. And I think it's going to be a back and forth battle because you switch back to the other side of the ball. The Browns, they finally get Odell back. They got Hunt and Nick Chubb are really rolling right now. And they're going against a Vikings defense that has had their own struggles to start the season. And I think they're going to be able to move the ball. Their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, knows Mike Zimmer. They worked together for a long time there in Minnesota. So we kind of got a little storyline going here between those 2 head coaches. So he's going to know how to attack this Vikings defense and their weaknesses, right? He knows Zimmer's tendencies on play calling. So I think the Browns are going to be able to move the ball, but I could see a guy like Danielle Hunter being dominant tomorrow and getting after Baker Mayfield. Because it's kind of funny because Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins are kind of similar quarterbacks in terms of playing styles. So I could see them harassing Baker, and maybe even Baker having his own early decisions, which either lead to stalled drives or maybe a turnover or 2. I'm having a tough time. I was sitting here this morning when I was going over my script trying to figure out who I think is going to win these games. Like, man, I could definitely see the Browns winning it. I could definitely see the Vikings winning it. But man, that Vikings, that home field advantage is real up there in Minneapolis. So I'm going to give the slight edge to the Vikings to find a way to get to 500. I think they're going to win by like a last minute field goal. I think they win like a 27-24 win over the Browns tomorrow, but it's going to be a good game. It's probably going to come down to whoever has the ball last, definitely. But I'll stick with my Vikings pick just because they are the home team. Moving on to the next game, we got the Washington football team traveling down to Atlanta to face the Falcons. Both teams kind of got a short injury report. On the football team, Benjamin St-Juste is out with his concussion, and then Matt Ioannidis is questionable with his knee, and Antonio Gibson is questionable with his shin, but it sounds like he's good to go. I was on top of that this morning because I was like, is he going to play? Because I got him on some of my fantasy teams. And then the Falcons on their side, these 2 players are out tomorrow. Marlon Davidson with a ankle, and then Russell Gage with his ankle injury. Now, as far as this matchup, man, this is you're talking about like two like I mean I know the Falcons got that win over the Giants, but these are like two definitely struggling teams right now, trying to figure out their identity on both sides of the ball. I mean, starting with the Falcons, I mean I don't know what to think and what to expect out of that offense. It's kind of like been very clunky so far. But maybe they can get this is a game they can get Calvin Ridley more involved and get him going this season. That secondary of the Washington football team has really struggled. And then Benjamin St. Juste, they're I wouldn't say overly impressive, but yeah, he's got a good solid start to his rookie campaign, and he's out with his concussion. So they're down one of their starting cornerbacks, so maybe a guy like Calvin Ridley could get going. I said it on my start sit video for this week. I think this is a game we see Kyle Pitts break out. So I think this Falcons offense is going to put together some nice drives. But that Falcons offensive line is still trying to figure themselves out. So if there's ever a game for that Washington defensive front to be who they're supposed to be, this will be it. So I could definitely see Chase Young getting his hands on Matt Ryan at least 2+ times tomorrow. I could see Montez Sweat coming off the edge and hitting him. So I think I think we're going to see probably the best game out of this Washington football defense, but I think they're going to give up at least maybe 2 touchdowns tomorrow. And on the flip side of the ball, the offense on there, they've been very inconsistent, right? Like you see some big plays, Antonio Gibson taking a catch for 74 yards and a touchdown, and then there's turnovers by Heineke with his 2 interceptions I think he threw last week. And it's just like you just want to see more of a consistent play out of this offense while Taylor Heineke leading the way, but they are going against the Falcons defense, who's been far less than impressive as well. So I think we're going to see a nice game between Antonio Gibson. I think we're going to see Terry McLaurin bounce back and get over 100 yards. Curtis Samuel's back too, so that's going to open up things in their playbook and open up things in the offense as well. So I think we're probably going to see the best performance out of the Washington overall as a team. So I think they're going to win this game. I would say I'll give the Washington football team a win. They win like a 24-17 win tomorrow. And then moving on to this next game, I'll probably be very quick with this one. No disrespect to Texans, but we got the Houston Texans traveling up to Buffalo to face the Bills. On the Texans side, there are 2 starting defensive players that are going to be out of this matchup. Zach Cunningham and Ross Blacklock were placed on the reserve COVID-19 list, so they are officially out. And then these 2 players are all out on the injury report. Danny Amendola with a thigh, Scotty Phillips with an illness, and then these 2 players are questionable. Garrett Wallow with an illness, and then Terrence Mitchell with a concussion and illness. And then on the Bills side of the ball, they're going to be out a couple starters. Jordan Poyer with an ankle and John Feliciano with an illness. And then Taron Johnson is questionable with his groin, as well as F.A. Obaba with his ankle injury. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to be very quick with this. I think we're starting to see the Texans be the Texans that we all thought they were going to be, where they're going to struggle to find ways to win on both sides of the ball. We saw the Buffalo offense completely blow up last week, and I think that's definitely going to continue against that Texans defense tomorrow, especially the fact that they're going to be missing their best linebacker and one of their up-and-coming defensive linemen. So I think they're going to be able to pick that defense apart with their quarterback Josh Allen. And I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Devin Singletary or Zach Moss have over 100 yards rushing tomorrow as well, and they're going to put up like 3 to 4+ touchdowns against that defense. And then the Texans offense, Davis Mills was all right against that Panthers defense, but I think the Bills defense has been playing out of their mind, not out of their mind, but playing really good this year. And I think that defensive front's going to harass the rookie quarterback and force him into bad decisions, which will lead to turnovers. And I think they're going to struggle to put up points against this Bills defense. So yeah, I'm taking the Bills. I think the Bills kind of run them out of the building. They're going to win like a 35-14 win for the Bills. And I'm going to just go ahead and keep it moving then. We got the New York Giants traveling down to New Orleans to face the Saints. Let's see here. Yeah, so starting with the Giants injury report, Ben Bredson is out with a hand. Two of their wide receivers are out. Sterling Shepard with a hamstring, as well as Darius Slayton with his own hamstring. These 4 players are questionable. Keon Crossan with an elbow, Nate Ebner with a quad, Caden Smith with a knee, and then Tay Crowder with a hamstring. And then the Saints side, these two, they're out 2 of their starting offensive linemen. Eric McCoy with a calf, and then Teron Armstead with an elbow. So yeah, this is I feel bad for the Giants because they're probably facing a team that you don't want to face at this moment. I think I talked about it as a streamable defense, but the New Orleans Saints are going to be opening for the first time in the Superdome after Hurricane Ida, after the whole pandemic, for the first time in front of a full crowd since 2019. So that place is going to be rocking. That's going to feed into the emotion of the players. So I think both sides of the ball for the Saints are going to come out swinging. Like, starting with the Saints offense, I think we're going to see a huge game out of Alvin Kamara. I could see Jameis Winston playing efficient football and picking apart this Giants defense. But now I will say this, though. With our Armstead out and McCoy being out, I could see that Giants defensive front somewhat maybe not allowing a rushing attack and trying to force Jameis to beat them through the air. But it will be on that Giants defense to their secondary, the back end of the group, to not let him pick them apart and make this a blowout type of performance. But to be fair, though, that Saints offense is weird. They're like not getting much of a passing attack, and they're somehow winning. They have won 2 games. So, but with that being said, like I said, I think they're going to feed off that emotion, and I think the offense is going to be able to put up like 2 to 3 touchdowns tomorrow. Then you flip sides of the ball. I think this is where they're really going to win the game. That Saints defense, now that they got their starters back into the lineup, is back to how they play. They got those 3 interceptions last week. They're going against a Giants offense that have had their own struggles this season. That Giants offense that's down 2 starting wide receivers. So I think I could definitely see Cameron Jordan coming off that edge and hitting Daniel Jones a few times. I could see maybe some interceptions, maybe like a C.J. Gardner-Johnson interception, or even Marshawn Lattimore. And I just think that defense is going to put on a dominant performance where it's not forcing the offense to win the game once again. That this defense is really bailing out that Saints offense so far this season, and I think that's going to continue tomorrow. I mean, unless like Saquon Barkley is all the way back and he completely dominates tomorrow's matchup, I think the Giants are going to struggle to put up points. And maybe they put together a touchdown drive or 2, but I can't bet against the Saints in their first game in the Superdome with a full crowd for the first time in 2 years. I know I've said that multiple times at this point. I just can't bet against that. So I'm gonna say the Saints do find a way to win. They win like let's go like I think it might be close. I think it's gonna be close. I'll go ahead and say that. I do think it's going to be closer, just because I'm not the biggest believer in the Saints offense right now. So I think the Saints do find a way to win. Their defense shows up in the fourth quarter and make a huge turnover to help win. They win like a 21-17 win tomorrow. And then next game is we got Kansas City going up to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. Taking a look at the Chiefs injury report, Rashad Fenton is out with a concussion. And then Frank Clark is questionable with his hamstring. And then Shavarius Ward is questionable with the quad. And then the Eagles, their starting left tackle, Jordan Mailata, is out with his knee injury. So yeah, as far as this matchup, feel bad for the Eagles, right? They just got picked apart from Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, and now they're going to be facing a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs team. They're coming off back-to-back losses. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that the Chiefs are going to rout this Eagles defense. I think Tyreek Hill's going over 100 yards, Travis Kelce's going over 100 yards, and Patrick Mahomes is going to put on like a 350-yard 4-touchdown performance against the Eagles. I don't think this is going to be a close game. I think the Chiefs are going to walk in with a purpose to get to 500. They know like some of these AFC West teams are kind of starting to create separation in the division. So this is a big game that they need to win. I think we're going to see the best performance from the overall unit from that Kansas City offense. And then you flip sides of the ball, that Eagles, I said it in my start-sit video with the Miles Sanders start. The best thing the Eagles can do, though, if they want to win, right? Like, obviously, their defense is going to have to somewhat slow down and contain and kind of do what the Chargers did last week, right, to Patrick Mahomes. which is very hard to do, right? So their best bet is they're going to have to get the run game going with Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts, the RPO, the read option, keep the ball on the ground, and have not. You can't put the ball this on Jalen's shoulders to win a shootout with Patrick Mahomes. That is not going to work. If they try to do that, he's going to throw interceptions again like he did last week, and they're going to get routed out for back-to-back weeks. They have to get the run game going. They have to get the RPO going. Devontae Smith needs to dominate these matchups. They need to get the ball to Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz and just play efficient football and convert drives into touchdowns. I really don't see that happening, but maybe they put together a couple drives, 2 or 3 drives to score some touchdowns. But yeah, like I said, I just think the Chiefs there's no way I'm going to pick the Chiefs to go 1-3, especially when they're facing the Eagles team that just got blew out by the Cowboys. So I think Chiefs dominate. They win like a 35-17 type of win tomorrow. And then I believe this is the last, so this is the last 1 p.m. game. We have the Carolina Panthers traveling down, it's kind of down, right? Carolina traveling to Dallas to face the Cowboys. Let's take a look at both teams' injury reports. Obviously, we already know Christian McCaffrey's out with his hamstring injury. Yetur Gross-Matos is doubtful with his ankle. And then John Miller is questionable with his shoulder injury. And then the Cowboys injury report, Dorrance Armstrong is out with his ankle, as well as Ty Neskey with an illness, as well as Carlos Watkins with a knee. And lastly, Donovan Wilson's out with a groin. And then Randy Gregory is questionable with his knee injury. This is a pretty interesting matchup. It does suck that Christian McCaffrey's out because I really do think that hampers the Panthers' ability to win this game in Dallas. But yeah, let's start with that offense. So now, like not the Christian McCaffreys. The Panthers are going to have to rely on rookie Chuba Hubbard and a mixture of Royce Freeman to kind of figure out things on the ground game while they wait for their star running back to return. So that's going to put more on Sam Darnold's plate. I think this is going to be a better look into I know a lot of people are trying to victory lap on Sam Darnold after a game against the Texans. Like, hold up, let's see how he does when he plays really good teams, especially when he is out with Christian McCaffrey. So he's going to have to utilize his wide receivers and Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, maybe get Terrence Marshall involved. I know they have tremendous confidence in Tommy Tremble. So we'll see if that rookie tight end can step up and help out this offense. And they are going to need to figure that out because I could see this being a shootout type of game for the Panthers because of how well that Cowboys offense is playing so far this season. So I do think the Panthers are going to be able to move the ball against the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys, I keep on saying this. Yes, the Cowboys defense is a lot better than last year, but they still have holes in that secondary that you can take advantage of. So I think we're going to see a nice game out of Robbie Anderson. I think DJ Moore will get his, but I think we could see Trayvon Diggs cover him for most of the matchup as well. So yeah, other guys are going to have to step up in this Panthers offense, and this is where we're going to see who Sam Darnold is underneath this Panthers. If he can put together a really, really great performance, maybe he has truly turned the corner on his career. And then you switch sides of the ball. The Cowboys, like I said, the Cowboys offense is humming right now. Dak Prescott is playing amazing with his ability to stretch out plays. And he, kind of like I said with Burrow, he keeps his eyes up on the field and manipulates the secondary. He's got CeeDee Lamb had a good game. Amari Cooper will be a lot healthier in this matchup. They got Dalton Schultz involved last week. I think, in my personal opinion, is that Zeke is running as strong as he has in the last in the last 2 years. So, but they are facing this Panthers defense, which is only allowing 45 rushing yards per game. So I think, same thing with Sam Darnold. I think we're going to really see who this Panthers defense is, right? Because everybody's really high on them right now, but we saw kind of the Texans move the ball against them. So are they going to be able to contain Zeke and Tony Pollard with J.C. Horn being out? I know they traded for C.J. Henderson. Are they going to be able to slow down this passing attack? I don't know. I think I could see maybe the rushing game being contained, but I think Dak's going to be able to pick apart that secondary and that back end of the Panthers defense. I think this could be a shootout barn burner of a matchup between both teams. But I think the loss of Christian McCaffrey is going to show up when they need a really strong point from the rushing attack from the Panthers offense in the fourth quarter. and that's going to allow the Cowboys to take advantage of it and maybe make a comeback or maybe open up a big lead in the fourth quarter. Not want to say big lead, but take the lead in the fourth quarter. I'm going to say the Cowboys win at home. Let's say the Cowboys win like a 31-27 win over Carolina. And then moving into these 4 p.m. games, we got the Seattle Seahawks traveling down to San Francisco to face the Niners. Going over the Seahawks injury report, these 2 players are out. Rashad Penny with a calf and Brandon Shell with an ankle. And then D. Eskridge is doubtful with his concussion. And then these 3 players are questionable. Benson Mayowa with a neck, Alton Robinson with a knee, and Tyler Lockett with a hip. And then the Niners, they're going to be missing 2 starting cornerbacks, which is you don't want to hear when you face DK Metcalf and maybe Tyler Lockett. I'm not 100% sure if he's on track to play, to be quite honest. Just pay attention to tomorrow's active list. And then 49ers, Kwan Williams is out with a calf. Josh Norman is doubtful with his chest. George Kittle is questionable with his calf, and I knew that wasn't sounding promising as of yesterday, so that's something to note for fantasy owners. Elijah Mitchell is questionable for his shoulder, and then Javon Kinlaw is questionable with his knee injury. So yeah, this is a classic NFC West battle. These teams, I know over the last few years, it seems like the Seahawks have always gotten the best of the 49ers. And I can kind of see that continuing in this game. I think we're going to see a better game out of this Seahawks offense, because with Kwan Williams and Josh Norman, I mean, I'm not really high on them as cornerbacks, but there's 2 starting cornerbacks, so they're down to backups at that role. I think DK Metcalf's going to have a huge game against this 49ers defense. I think with even if Tyler Lockett plays at less than 100%, I think he's going to have a nice game. We've been seeing Freddie Swain kind of emerge in that Seahawks wide receiver room. And then maybe Gerald Everett gets some things going as well. And then, but yeah, I think Russell Wilson's going to have one of his better performances of the year, kind of looking like he did against the Colts in week 1. And I think they're going to be able to move the ball and put up about 2 to 3 plus touchdowns against this 49ers defense, which is really banged up right now. And they haven't really been super impressive, in my opinion, thus far this year. And then you flip sides of the ball, that 49ers offense, which is weird for underneath Kyle Shanahan, is they're having troubles establishing the run. It seems like teams are kind of finding it kind of somewhat figured out that scheme. But then again, they've been dealing with injuries to that backfield, and nobody has really, outside of that first game with Elijah Mitchell, nobody's really emerged as a threat out of the backfield. So I could kind of see the Seahawks somewhat keeping them in check on the ground and forcing Jimmy G to beat them through the air. But to be fair, I really don't believe like in that Seahawks secondary and the cornerback group right now with how they've been playing thus far this season. So I could see Deebo Samuel having a huge game. I could see Brandon Ayuk having a breakout game in his second year. So I think this is going to be a really close back and forth battle between the Seahawks and 49ers. It's really hard for me to pick because somebody pointed out like these NFC West matchups, how like each team kind of dominates each other, and when these 2 teams face, Pete Carroll's kind of dominated the 49ers in recent history. So I kind of lean towards the Seahawks. You know, when I was doing my game predictions before the season, I always felt like the NFC West teams would split the series, and I always picked the home team typically. So do I pick the 49ers? It's hard, right? Because if I pick the 49ers, the Seahawks are going to be 1-3, and I have a difficult time accepting a Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson team being 1-3 to start the season, right? But this is not one of their best teams. Who am I going with, guys? I have to make a decision on the spot. If George Kittle's out, that's going to be a lot tougher too, man. You know what? This 49ers team is too banged up for me right now. I think the Seahawks find a way to win. I say the Seahawks win like a 27-24 win tomorrow. And then I'm going to go ahead and keep it moving to the next NFC West matchup, right? We got Arizona traveling out to LA to face the Rams. Taking a look at the Cardinals injury report, Eno Benjamin is out with a hamstring, and then Kelvin Beachum is questionable with his ribs. Justin Murray is questionable with his back, and then Justin Pugh is questionable with his back. And then on the Rams side, Darrell Henderson is questionable with his ribs, and Tutu Atwell is questionable with an illness. Yeah, again, this is another great matchup between both teams, and we're going to start seeing who's going to like separate themselves in this division. The Rams are obviously coming off that huge win over the Super Bowl champs and the Bucks last week at home, and they're going to look to carry that momentum against this Cardinals team. That Cardinals team is still a work in progress on their defense, so I think that's going to allow Matthew Stafford to continue his dominance in the air. I think he's going to be able to pick apart the secondary with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson, and now we're seeing Deshaun Jackson get more involved. And I think you can run against this Arizona defense as well. So it sounds like Darrell Henderson should be able to place, but I would not be surprised if it's a mixture of Henderson and Sony Michel. And I think they're going to be able to steadily move the ball throughout the day and be in scoring position more times than not. Maybe they stall and have to settle for field goals here and there, but I think they're going to be able to put up some points against this Cardinals defense. And you flip side of the ball, I mean, the Cardinals, they did win that game last week, but they almost did lose to the Jaguars. But they had one of their, I guess you could say, down performances against that Jaguars defense, and then they are facing a lot better defense in the Rams. So I think with especially Kelvin Beacham's questionable, Murray's questionable, and Pugh are questionable, so their offensive line's a little banged up right now. So I can see Aaron Donald living in the backfield and forcing Kyler Murray to run, which again he can easily run. He's got the quickest feet in the league. So they're just going to have to cover things in the back end. Jalen Ramsey has done a great job in defending DeAndre Hopkins and their history against each other. So wouldn't be surprised if they take them out. That means we're going to have to see who can dominate their matchups. Is it AJ Green, or is it Rondale Moore, or is it Christian Kirk? I think the Cardinals are going to be able to move the ball at times, but I think this defense is going to be able to, somewhat stall them throughout the day to help their offense create that separation and create a lead. And what I just talked about, right? The NFC's West is weird, where like some teams have dominated each other, even though they're all really good. Well, if I remember right, I don't think Sean McVay has lost to Cliff Kingsbury yet. Now, obviously, Cliff is going to want to finally get that first victory. But, it's in LA. The Rams are coming off a huge win against the Bucks. I can't pick against them right now. Maybe the Cardinals finally get this victory against this Ram team in Arizona. I could see that happening, but not in LA. I got the Rams winning a kind of somewhat of a shootout. I'll say the Rams win like a 35-28 win tomorrow. And then I'm going to move on to the next game. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling out to Green Bay to face the Packers. Taking a look at the injury report for the Steelers, they have 3 players that will be out. Carlos Davis with a knee, Chukwuma Okwara with a concussion, and then Rashad Coward with an ankle, and then Chase Claypool is questionable with his hamstring. And then the Packers a little banged up. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is out with his hamstring injury. Elton Jenkins is doubtful with his ankle, and Kevin King is doubtful with his concussion. And then these 3 players are questionable. Chris Barnes with a concussion, Jack Heflin with an ankle, and Vernon Scott with a hamstring. But yeah, so let's just start with the Steelers' offense. It's been very ugly thus far. They can't get anything going on the run game. Big Ben is, playing hurt, and on top of that, he's lost some arm strength over the years. And there's just nothing really that should scare this Packers defense, and I think they should be able to match up well against that Steelers offense. Now, they definitely will need Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith to dominate their matchups and get off the edge to get in Big Ben's face. And I think should be able to do that. I mean, Okoro is out, and he's he was their starting left tackle. So there's going to be an opportunity to come off that blind side of Big Ben and hit him for a couple, maybe force a fumble or two. And I could definitely see that happening. And then Jaire Alexander, we'll see who he sticks on. I like the emergence of the Packers' first-round pick, Eric Stokes. I think he's been very impressive now that he's been inserted in the lineup. And maybe him and Jaire Alexander can form a nice little cornerback tandem. So I think the Packers defense is going to be able to do what most defenses have been able to do against the Steelers team and not let them move the ball on the ground and force Big Ben to beat them. And if Big Ben can't deliver on his throws, it might be another long day for that offensive unit. And then you flip sides of the ball, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's starting to dice up defenses. Now, he is going to be facing a Steelers defense that will have TJ Watt back in the lineup. Elton Jenkins is doubtful, so he's probably not going to play. They're still waiting on Bakhtiari to come back, but he can't come back, I believe, until after week 6 because he's on the PUP list. So, yeah, TJ Watt's probably going to be chasing Aaron Rodgers for most of the afternoon, and if there's a way for this team to win, it's they're going to have to disrupt Aaron Rodgers' rhythm. They're going to have to not let him get comfortable. Valdez-Scantling's out, so they're going to need their secondary to somewhat contain Devontae Adams and force the other guys to beat them through the air. But man, that Steelers secondary has kind of been giving up some big plays, haven't they, this year? So I can see Aaron Rodgers, maybe Alan Lazard stepping up. Maybe we see Randall Cobb or Amari Rodgers step up. Robert Tonyan, and so I think they're going to be able to move the ball at times. But I could definitely see TJ Watt being a factor in this game and maybe making it a little closer than what most people may think. But in the end, I can't pick against Aaron Rodgers with how he's playing right now, and I just can't pick the Steelers right now with how ugly the offense has been thus far. So I do think the Packers find a way to win the game at home. Maybe it's a lot closer into the fourth quarter, but then the Packers pull away in the fourth quarter to make it look like they kind of dominated the matchup. I'll say the Packers win like a 31-21 type of win against the Steelers. And then, let's see, is this the last one for the 4 o'clock games? I believe so. Hold on, guys. It's a long injury report for both teams. Yeah, so this is the last 4 p.m. game. Again, like I said, this is a long injury report for both teams. The Baltimore Ravens are traveling out to Denver to face the Broncos. And the Ravens have the most players on the injury report this week. Let's go ahead and go over it. Ronnie Stanley is out with an ankle. Derek Wolfe is out with a back and hip. And then these following players are questionable. Deshaun Elliott with a quad, Lamar Jackson with a back, Pernell McPhee with a shoulder, Alejandro Villanueva with a knee, Tavon Young with a knee, Anthony Everett with an ankle, Geno Stone with a thigh, and Chuck Clark with a hip, and Marlon Humphrey with a knee. And then the Broncos, like I said, they have their fair share of injuries, especially on the offensive line. Graham Glasgow is out with a knee. Dalton Reisner these following players are questionable. Dalton Reisner with an ankle, Melvin Gordon with ribs and a lower leg, and Andre Mintz with a hamstring, Shelby Harris with a wrist and an illness, Baron Browning with a back, and Draymond Jones with a calf injury. So, man, this is a very interesting matchup to me because like the Ravens are somewhat winning these, somehow finding their way to win games. They had to take a 66-yard NFL record field goal to beat the Lions last week. And they're just playing throughout the season, all types of banged up. They already have so many players on IR, and then they're, like I said, they have the most players on this week's injury report. But then they're facing this Broncos team who are not only banged up themselves, but I don't know about you guys, I have questions around that Broncos team. Like, yes, they're 3-0, but the 3 teams they've beaten so far don't have a win this season. The 3 teams that they face have a combined record of 0-9. So it's like, who is this Broncos team? Like, are they good? Are they decent? Are they bad with a good record, right? So I would lean towards they're a decent team. I do like what the pieces they still have on the offense despite the injuries they have. So starting with the offense, like Teddy's been playing good, but now they are going to be playing against one of the better defenses just because of how many injuries they have. But usually the defense can still, the Baltimore defense is still somewhat coached up, right? So it's going to still be a test for this Broncos offense. We're going to have to see how that offensive line plays. They're not going to have Glasgow. We'll have to see if Reisner plays. So there could be out 2 starting offensive guards, which will allow that defensive front of Baltimore to live in the backfield and help somewhat contain that Broncos rushing attack. So Teddy is going to have to figure out a way to move the ball through the air to Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, Albert O. Those guys are going to have to win their matchups. But I think they're going to be able to put together some scoring drives because, again, Marlon Humphrey's banged up. Chuck Clark's banged up. And so those are two of their better secondary guys that will be less than 100%, assuming they do play and they're not ruled out tomorrow morning. So I think the Broncos are going to be able to move the ball, but I think there's going to be times they do stall because of their own injuries on the offense. And then flip sides of the ball, right? Lamar Jackson has basically put this team on his back, which is literally why he's questionable with a back injury, right? So, but I do think they're going to be able to move the ball against the Broncos defense, who is somewhat banged up themselves. But I think the fact that Ronnie Stanley's out, Alejandro Villanueva has been far less than impressive, and he's banged up. So Von Miller is going to be able to come off that edge quite often, and I want to say he has the speed to chase down Lamar Jackson, but he has the speed to, get to him before he can take off for runs. So it's going to definitely depend on their passing attack. I do like the Broncos secondary, so I think they're going to be able to keep any type of passing attack from the Ravens in check. And they're going to force the rushing attack to beat them, but the Broncos' rushing and defense has been very solid themselves. This might end up being a low-scoring, boring defensive affair, right? I wouldn't say boring. I like defensive matchups, but because of fantasy football, people call these type of matchups boring. Man, I'm having a tough time figuring out who's going to win this game, to be quite honest, because if the Ravens were healthy, I would pick the Ravens because I don't really believe in this Broncos team as a 3-0 team. But this is in Denver. The Ravens barely squeaked out that game against the Lions. They're so banged up right now. Man, I think the Broncos are going to find a way to win at home. I think they're going to figure out a way to win. They're going to kick a field goal to win, like a 20-17 win over Baltimore tomorrow. And then I'm going to move into obviously the biggest game of the week. We got the Tom Brady. We'll have to see about Rob Gronkowski, former Patriots, the Bucks. They're traveling up to Foxborough to face their former team, Bill Belichick-led New England Patriots. So let's take a look at the injury report. Since I kind of already gave a hint, there's some questions surrounding Rob Gronkowski. Really quick though, these two players are out. Giovanni Bernard with his knee injury and Jamal Dean with his knee injury. And then Gronkowski's listed as doubtful with his ribs. Man, I just have a tough time accepting he's not at least going to suit up. Maybe he's going to be a decoy if he plays, but man, usually when you're listed as doubtful, that means you're probably not going to play, but I just have a tough time. But he came back, and that's what I don't understand. He came back in that game last week, and he kind of practiced this week. I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to play mind games with Bill. We'll have to see. And then Jason Pierre-Paul is questionable with his shoulder injury. And then the Patriots they're banged up, guys. James White, he's ruled out, but he's going to be placed on IR with his hip injury. His season's basically done. And then these following players are questionable: Jawan Bentley with a shoulder, Trent Brown with a calf, Kyle Duggar with a hamstring, Nick Folk with a knee, J.C. Jackson with a knee, Josh Uche with a back, and Kyle Van Noy with the back, as well as Isaiah Wynn with his knee injury. Now, so the Bucks, obviously, they came off their first loss in how many games against the Rams last week, so they're going to be fired up. And then you got to factor in Tom Brady's going to want to pick his former head coach's defense apart with his arm and showing them that you should have did everything you could to keep me in Foxborough. So yeah, I think this Bucks offense with Tom Brady is going to be able to move the ball against the Patriots defense, who, yeah, at times they've been good, but they also have been at times letting teams move the ball against them. So I think they're going to be seeing a healthy dose of Mike Evans. Antonio Brown's back in the lineup. I think he's going to have a good game, as well as Chris Godwin. And we'll have to see who Gronkowski plays. But like I said, even if he plays, he may be more of a decoy than not. So with that being said, I think the Bucs offense is going to be able to move the ball. I think Tom is going to know what to expect. But I will say this. If there's anybody that might be able to somewhat come up with an amazing game plan to slow down Tom Brady, that's seen him for 20 years, it is Bill Belichick. So maybe he creates some magic. I just don't see that happening against a team that just came off a loss, that's fired up to get their quarterback his revenge against his former team. And then the Patriots offense, they had their worst game of the season. Mac Jones threw those 3 interceptions. And now they are going against a Bucs defense that has a banged up secondary right now. So there is definitely the possibility if Mac Jones, I don't think it's going to happen, but Mac Jones would have to completely ball out in this matchup. But I think Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett are going to come off that edge. That Patriots offensive line is not only banged up, but they've been underwhelming thus far this season. So I think the defensive front of the Bucks is going to contain that rushing attack. They're going to force Mac Jones to beat them. Man, we haven't seen anything out of Mac Jones that says he's going to be able to beat a defense in the NFL. So I think the Patriots are going to struggle to move the ball, and I think they're going to struggle to sustain drives, and they're going to not put up that many points. Man, I mean, unless Bill Belichick creates the ultimate game plan on defense and offense, I really don't see how this is a close game. He could easily prove me wrong because he is the greatest coach of all time. But yeah, I think the Bucks are going to handle their business. I think they win like a 31-17 win in Foxborough. And then moving on to the last game of the week on Monday night matchup, we got the Raiders traveling to LA to face the Chargers. Again, these aren't the final report. You guys will get that at some point today, but these three players have been limited in practice. Josh Jacobs with an ankle, Trayvon Mullen Jr. with a shoulder, and Roderick Teamer for an ankle. And then on the Chargers side, these four players have been limited in their practice. Keenan Allen with an ankle, Chris Harris Jr. with a shoulder, Justin Jones with a calf, and Matt Overton with a calf. But yeah, this is a very interesting matchup, right? Chargers coming off that huge win over the Chiefs. They have an opportunity to take the lead in the AFC West with a win over the Raiders on Monday night. And I think that's definitely plausible. That's probably going to happen. Justin Herbert's got to have all the confidence in the world after that big win in Kansas City. I think he's going to be able to pick apart this Raiders defense they have played a lot better, but they have also still have some leaky holes. So I think we're going to see a good game out of Jared Cook. I said this week on my starts and sits. I think Keenan Allen will get his. I think Mike Williams will get his, and I think we're going to see a nice little game out of Austin Eckler as well. And they're going to be able to move this ball and put this team in scoring position more times than not on Monday night. And then on flipping sides of the ball, Derek Carr has been playing out of his mind. But I think this is the game that he comes back down to earth, and you don't see him have an overly impressive game out of Carr. We saw what this Charger defense somewhat did to Patrick Mahomes last week, and I like what Brandon Staley is going to be able to do to create some problems for Derek in this matchup. Now, if there's one thing you can point out for the Raiders to be dominant in this matchup is the Chargers have severely struggled to stop running backs this year. And it does look like Josh Jacobs is going to be able to play. So I can see Josh Jacobs going over 100 yards and grabbing a touchdown against this defense. I do think it's going to be a close game. I don't think the Chargers are just going to dominate this matchup. I think it's going to come down to who can win the turnover battle between the Chargers and Raiders. Whoever can force the most turnovers, I do believe, is going to win this game. But man, I just can't pick against the Chargers. They came off that big win against the Chiefs. I think we're going to see the Raiders somewhat come back down to earth in this matchup and suffer their first loss of the year. I think Justin Herbert puts his team to win. I think he finds a way to win the game in the fourth quarter. He marches the offense down the field to score a touchdown to give him the lead. I have the Chargers winning this game 28-24 on Monday night. So yeah, that's my preview, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy my Week 4 preview. If you enjoyed it, as always, hit the like button. If you have not subscribed to my channel, as always, please subscribe to my channel. If you've been watching me every week and you haven't hit that button, come on, hit the subscribe button. As always, go check out the Prospect Encyclopedia. You can go order that at prospectencyclopedia.com. The entire PDF's for $15. You can get an individual team PDF for $1, and you can always check out the Buck section for free. And then if you want to, if you're impressed by my work that I did on the Buck section, you can order the whole thing, which is done by multiple writers for $15. And then other than that, guys, you will see me back on Tuesday for my top waiver wires and streamable defenses. If you guys have any football questions, if you have any fantasy related questions, please hit up my comments. Please hit me up on Twitter. I always do my best to reply. I do want to address something. I had a listener kind of feel like I guess I was not more directive in my responses. Yeah, I just try to give my best advice, guys, on these games, and hopefully I want you to make a confident decision in yourself. But I will try to be more direct if you're wondering if player A or player B. I have my anxiety if I let you guys down, you won't ever come back. But I'll try to be more directive with my my responses with my fantasy football questions. But yeah, don't ever hesitate to hit me up. You guys are never bothering me. You can slide in my DMs if you want on Twitter. If you got my number, hit me up with a text. I know I have friends that do that as well. But again, enjoy these week 4 games, guys. I'll see you on Tuesday.